Sign up to Council's disaster and weather event warning system. Receive alerts about emergency news, severe weather events and other public safety alerts via SMS or email. Registering to the disaster messaging system is free. To register, visit Gladstone Regional Council's Region Watch website and click on the Register for Warnings button. Get ready, Gladstone. Take the steps to protect what's most important to you. Let's be better prepared and protected for emergencies and disasters.
Gladstone Regional Council are committed to fostering a proud, involved and engaged community. The Gladstone Regional Council Community Investment Program provides financial support to local community initiatives, projects and events which promote community connections, regional enhancements, community celebrations and community education. For more information on the Community Investment Program, visit gladstone.qld.gov.au. Gladstone Regional Council. Connect, innovate, diversify.
Well, good morning. The time being 9 a.m, I declare open the general meeting for the Gladstone Regional Council for Tuesday the 5th of December 2023. No apologies, so we'll move to the next item on the agenda, councillors, which is messages of condolence. Do we have any messages of condolence this morning? No messages of condolence. The next item on the agenda is prior notifications of conflicts of interest. Okay, councillors, I have a conflict of interest I'd like to declare in item 4.1, which is the Boyne-Tanham Aquatic Recreation Centre investment decision, Australian government funding, which obviously I, as the federal candidate at the time, secured the $15 million from the federal government for, which was then Council's #1 strategic priority project. I'll declare conflict and hand over to the Deputy Mayor at that point in time. Thank you. Any further conflicts, councillors? Thank you. We'll move to the next item on the agenda before we move to our deputation and the confirmation of the minutes, which is the Mayor's statement on current issues. Can I start with the Santos GLNG Mayor's Carols, hosted at the GPC Marina Parklands on Friday and supported by the team at 4CC and, of course, our amazing community and lifestyle team as well, and everyone at the Gladstone Entertainment Convention Centre who put on an amazing show at the Parklands on Friday. We were a bit worried about the rain, but the rain held out. And a couple of little spots of rain just as the last school choir got on stage, and the fireworks arrived a little early with Santa, but it was all in all a fantastic night. So well done to everyone involved in that. It's just a whole bunch of volunteers that put that together, and of course we also had the tribute to the late Norma Tanner as well, who was heavily involved not only in the arts but particularly in the carols over many years. On the weekend, it was the Agnes Water Library 25th birthday celebration as well, and our Welcome to Gladstone morning tea, and that was another fantastic event there in Agnes Water. So thank you to the team again for putting that on. Our Welcome to Gladstone morning teas are very special, welcoming all our new residents to the region, but also an opportunity to celebrate 25 years of the Agnes Water Library. Many other events, including the Ulysses Toy Run, of course, another big fundraiser for the Salvation Army, together with the Mayor's Giving Tree at Big W and the Kmart Wishing Tree. Speaking of wishing trees and Christmas trees, it's the Christmas tree decorating extravaganza at the Boyne-Tanham Community Centre tomorrow from 3:30 p.m. So I've noticed some young ones in the gallery today. They might want to take them to the Boyne-Tanham Community Centre tomorrow and help decorate the Christmas tree down there. We have guests this morning from CQU, so it'll be remiss of me not to mention the graduation ceremony this coming Friday at the Entertainment Convention Centre as well. And thank you, councillors, for attending the very many graduating ceremonies we have had across the region over the last month. The Mount Larkham pool reopened on Friday, and we're having an event there on this Friday or Saturday. Anyway, it's coming up this weekend, this Friday, to reopen the pool officially and go through the community feedback we had about the new facility that we plan to build there in the coming years. The Calliope markets are on this Saturday, and the Miriamvale Community Information Session regarding the water restrictions that have been in place. Obviously, the Baffle Creek level is a lot lower than it has been in recent years, and so water restrictions have been put in place. And there is a community meeting on the Tuesday the 12th of December at 6 p.m. We listened to the community and relocated that time because it was clashing with a couple of school graduations and also the Lions Club's Christmas light bus tour. So now Tuesday the 12th of December at 6 p.m. And of course our New Year's Eve Christmas party on the 31st of December is going to be hosted at the GPC Marina Parklands. And before I wrap up, I'd like to mention the signing of our friendship agreement with the city of Melitopol in Ukraine was signed on Monday the 27th of November. Fantastic friendship agreement with our very good friends in Melitopol in Ukraine. Councillors, the next item on the agenda is G2.1, the confirmation of the general meeting minutes of the 21st of November 2023. Moved Councillor Hanson, seconded Councillor Cameron. Any business arising? No business arising. Put the motion. All in favour? They're carried. Thank you. We now have a deputation from the Central Queensland University, and I'll hand over to Associate Professor Linda Pfeiffer and Miss Lynn Hughes as well. Thank you, Linda and Lynn.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mayor and councillors, for having us. Today we'd just like to present our STEM in the Park project, give an update and request further support for this project. So the aims of our project is to conduct a pilot program to gain perspectives of children and parents to support the design of informative science to place in public playgrounds that describe the science, technology, engineering and mathematics concept involved in pieces of equipment. We have a series of research questions. We want to look at how children understand STEM concepts that are involved in play park equipment, how they interact, how parents and carers can use language and talk and discussion to interact with their children to foster STEM concepts and understanding, and to look at whether signs in a park can have an impact on those things. So why STEM in the park when STEM is everywhere in everyday life? The early years is very critical for creating understandings of concepts such as science, technology, engineering and mathematics. We'd like to look at enhancing children's natural play, outdoors, for mental health and obviously for obesity, having children playing outside. We want to improve literacy and oral language development. STEM is a critical issue in nationally and internationally. Our PISA and TIMSS results as a country are quite appalling, considering we're a developed country. And the way to try and improve science and maths understanding in the community and for people studying at university is to start in the early years and to start with the parents and carers. So we're looking at early age intervention, and we're using play parks as a context because it's quite natural for children. So far with the project, we have gained ethics approval, obviously, from Sikh University, and we have been to 2 local childcare centres, one at Yeppoon and one at Tannum Sands, and we conducted small group discussions with 4-year-olds, which was fabulous, being a secondary trained person. Lucky Lynn was there. So we gave the children photo prompts of different play parks and looked at and we video recorded their reactions. We looked at photo prompts of different pieces of equipment. We asked the children how they work, how do you make them move, what are they made of, and then we had the children draw their own play parks. What we did with that information is we developed some signs to place into 2 local play parks. So we took the signs and put them into 2 local Gladstone Regional Council play parks, obviously with council approval, one at Millennium Esplanade and one at Lions Park, Boyne Island, where we had a parent wear a GoPro and interact with their child using the signs as prompts. Now, we only had probably 3, I think, parents take it up, including our friends who we tried to get on board, because there was a reluctance for the parents or carers to wear a GoPro, because what we're trying to solve with this project is that parents and carers have very little confidence in STEM themselves and were very reluctant to wear a GoPro and try and interact with their child, probably because of their own lack of confidence, so which further enhances the reason why we need this project. So what we want to do moving forward, there's an image there of one of the signs that we have made. We have 6 signs, one for each of 5 common pieces of equipment, swing, slide, etc. And we also have an exit sign that summarises the child's experience in the play park. What we will be looking for is some more financial support to expand the project. So we'd like to have semi-permanent signs made. We actually currently have corflute signs that I would be reluctant to leave in a park. We'd like to develop a QR code to put on the sign that could then parents and carers could scan and that could ask them some questions so we could gain some feedback on the use of the signs. We'd need some funding to print and install the signs, probably over a 3 to 6 month period, to capture some data and develop a survey to evaluate and monitor whether these signs and prompts are useful for parents and carers. The estimated cost would be, this is very estimated, $20,000 over 6 months, where we could provide a full breakdown. We have considered other industry partners, but we're approaching council first because we have obviously the parks that we've used so far are being council parks. And we would just like to expand the project further. So the team members on this project, myself, Associate Professor Linda Pfeiffer, I'm the Deputy Dean of Research for the School of Education and the Arts, Associate Professor Gillian Bush, who is an early childhood expert, Lynn Hughes is an early childhood expert and Gladstone local, Ondine Bradbury and Darren Mallett are both STEM specialists like myself, so we have a team combined of STEM educators and early childhood educators as well. So Lynn, would you like to summarise any further about the project?
No, I'm sure the councillors have probably heard me at different times advocate for early childhood, but there's a lot of money being spent federally on STEM, and that's fine if the children have already got those concepts. But there's a lot of research that tells us that children, you know, this kind of project, language development, well, for example, I've been involved in Education Queensland projects 7 years ago that told us that children's language was the biggest impairment. So across Queensland, children coming into prep, our language is 25% lower than the national average in a lot of areas, including Boyne Island, Gladstone. So with the ADEC data that we collect as children enter prep shows it's not to say what's happened in the first 5 months of prep, it's to show the developmental guidelines, the development of children under 5 moving into school. And so that's where that data comes from about their language development, which of course is cognitive development, linked very closely. We know that if children do things, particularly like STEM, mathematics, those kinds of things, if, you know, children playing with blocks, if they do something 200 times, it actually helps their concept development. And so when they come into school and they learn the rules about, you know, 2 by 2 by 2 by 2 equals 2, 4, 6, 8, etc., they've actually take that on board because it fits into a schema that they already have. Is that kind of clear enough? So that happens until, well, it happens forever, but what happens before 5 and going into 6 actually can impact on children's lives at school till they're 11. So things like creativity, problem solving, language development, all of those things have a huge impact as children slide, or as many now don't slide into prep. So we need to really encourage parents to develop that language. And of course, in our technological world, our busy world with lots of people working long hours, you know, we can see a real decline in children's language. And of course, that decline is also affected by socioeconomic status, etc. So we need to do something very seriously about parents understanding the importance that just talking, and these are very simple signs at this stage, but just talking to the children about, you know, the spring underneath the seesaw and why that moves because it's a spring. And what we found was amazing, what 4-year-olds know and what they remember about parks. So when we showed them the parks, a range of parks, they were very quick to say, I know that one. I know that one, that's where I go, that's where mummy takes me. So that, I suppose the emotion that goes with being in nature, being in parks, being with their parents, is also a really important part of memory development. So the amygdala and the rest of the brain, and that's our problem with trauma-informed children. So, you know, trauma-informed practice, so children who are traumatised, their brains are full of stress hormones. And so their learning is basically flooded, you know, and they can't learn as effectively or as efficiently. And so that's why I think this is really important, because we're getting those children talking about things in their environment that then go straight into maths and science and technological kind of concepts that we're trying to teach them in schools.
Yeah, thank you, Lynn. And so we have presented this idea and some of the findings at a few national and international conferences. We have looked at other parks in other countries where they do have STEM and science play parks, but they don't look at the questioning of the parents and how the parents can interact with the child. They're more, this is friction when you slide, you know, it goes faster if it's wet or whatever. They're just more factual, whereas what we want to do is to change that whole understanding of how to communicate with a young child about STEM concepts. And honestly, I'd like to see these signs in every park in the world. So I thought it would make sense to start with Gladstone and to assist in making, you know, we talk a lot about livability and having something different in the town. I think with a lot of the STEM industry that we have here, I think these would be really great to have in every park. So thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Linda. Thanks,
Any
Lynn.
questions?
There probably will be. I'll start. So can we go back to the what the sign looks like? What was that?
Yeah, so that's one of the signs. So we start them all with I wonder. So this one is for a slide. So there's only 3 questions on it. So the parent or carer can ask, is this slide the highest you have ever seen? So we're trying to put some mathematics and measurement in there. Who would go down the fastest, you or me? So we're looking at size and momentum. And how could you go faster? So looking at friction. So we only did these signs without the answers, if you like. So I would say that's why a lot of people were reluctant to use them, because they would probably think, who does go faster? Like that person or the skinny person. So we wanted to develop a QR code so we could have a place where parents could have a look at what science and STEM concepts are actually being explored, and give those questions that they could then use, you know, in everyday life to be talking to their child about STEM.
Okay. I'm sure there'll be other questions from councillors. Last one from me. So the $20,000 that you're looking to fund, is that for the signs or is that for the development of the app?
So that would be both. So we currently have those big coloured signs. We had them at World Science Festival earlier in the year on Corflute. So we would want to develop some probably the similar looking but just more permanent, semi-permanent, that we could somehow screw to a pole or whatever in the park so they stay there with a QR code on it. So we would develop the survey for the QR code, the information that, you know, that goes to that website, as well as some sort of survey we can collect information over a period of time. Because at the moment we could probably do with the signs we've got now, but I'd have to go and put them in the park, wait for people to use them and take them back and continually do that, because they're only Corflute, they're not sturdy, they're probably not that safe. They were safe to have for our pilot because I was there the whole time, but, you know, people could damage them, they probably wouldn't last the weather. So yeah, the money would be for the development of similar sign but a more semi-permanent, installing it, having a QR code, developing the website and the survey, and also analysing and collecting that data and reporting on it at the end.
That's good value. $20,000 doesn't buy you anything, so obviously you're using your brain for a lot of this. You have to contract that out.
And the team.
Yeah,
I'm sure there's a team member who will do a website for us.
lovely. Can we borrow them when you're finished? Councillor Muscat.
Thank you. Thank you, Linda and Lynn. It's, I really love this. And thanks for bringing it here too. I do have a question, but before I do that, I guess, you know, we do parks and we do lots of other facilities and provide facilities for the community. And a lot of the times we look at a lot of the practical stuff, you know. Now, for example, water bubblers or the material of the floor or the equipment it's been a progression towards doing things that are more interactive and more learning focused. But in a town like Gladstone, where everything you said is also evidence-based, and it's very evident that what you're saying will then translate into having a more prepared workforce, let's put it that way. We spend a lot of money on training, on apprenticeships, which is great too, but at the same time, how can we get those people or those kids or those young people there if they don't have the foundation and the language, like you said? And this isn't just literacy and numeracy. Now we're going a little bit further to make sure that we have a community that is able to then service all the industry and all the different opportunities work-wise that we have, because a lot of the times we don't. Even though we have people, that doesn't mean they're trained or prepared to do those jobs. I think every single industry in this town should be helping you with this, because it benefits them, maybe not today or tomorrow, but definitely in 10 years. It's not really that long term. I will just even call it like kind of short, medium term. And I think it's wonderful. I think we all should have. In fact, I would like council to not design just a park with the requirements that we traditionally look at, but with more of that, things like what you just brought up today. So things that will be long-term, that it doesn't maybe sometimes mean much, but it does mean a lot when you start, you know, seeing the long-term benefit of that these different facilities have on kids and parents. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, no, thank you. So there's a lot of potential for if we get this money and put signs in the park and get some more evidence. As you said, there's a lot of industry here. We also have aspirations for this is STEM in the park. We can do STEM at the beach, STEM at the zoo, STEM at anywhere. And also we have a new professor in our school, and she's bilingual expert, so she does a lot of working with people from other countries, and she's developed a glossary of different languages. So there's the potential as well to put the signs or the QR code information into traditional language, into multicultural language. So, you know, I just see the possibilities of a small project like this, how it could expand in the future.
And also the investment is not really that big for the impact that it can potentially have. So that's kind of the question I was going to ask you. You're obviously going to collect data, say that tomorrow we have all these signs in the places you want to. You will be collecting the data that comes from that, and we could potentially be a place where everyone looks at as an example of how to get more.
That's our blue sky
Yeah.
thinking.
Yeah.
We don't, you know, as you said, and you know
Yeah.
from your experiences, it's very hard to convince people. You know, my dean said anyone who convinces the Women's Weekly to really put in a good article that will help parents all read to their children every night until they're, you know, 8, gets a red bottle, a white bottle of red. You know, he was trying lots of things.
Yeah.
Because it's hard. The kids are, you know, this is going to last for 5 years and then they're at school, etc. But we know every $17 that we spend, or 24 now, on children, we save every $1 we save $17 to $24 just in healthcare. So, you know, there's that aspect here of getting children back into nature.
Yeah.
You know, we've been through the latchkey children, we've been through the technology children, and we know the effects of that.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's a lot of aspects to this that I think are pivotal. You know, and I think the other thing is we've got a whole workforce that knows STEM. You know, they just need to have the confidence to talk to children about it and to actually spend time with children.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, you've only got to go to the Christmas carols to see that family involvement. We need to nurture that.
I think it's super exciting. And that kind of is, to me, it's also, and I'm really thankful that you brought that here, because it shows that we don't do kids education, we don't do health or training in general, but we can do this as people that will design a park. So that can show for anyone like watching also and here the importance of local government and how maybe for a little bit of something that we do, doing something different, how we can impact the much bigger outcomes. So
Yeah, and we also looked at doing it further on is in childcare centres and in preps, and seeing how, and educate the teachers on the types of conversations. They probably already know, but you know, you could do that. The other reason that the play park's also a good place to start is it's somewhere where you might capture the families that don't go to playgroup and they don't already engage or go to the libraries and all those great resources that are around, and that's also what we want to capture, the parents and carers that are missing out on those things.
Thank you. I've got Councillor Churchill and then Councillor Goodluck and then Councillor Cameron.
Thanks, Mayor Matt. Great innovative idea. As you're probably aware, we set our budget on a 12-monthly period, and it's not as if we have a spare $20,000 that's just sitting allocating for some signs. But have you had any advice back from Council in relation to our Smarty Grants program? Have you had any advice in relation to our portal that allows for the opportunity for the Smarty Grants? And that is, it's very broad brush, but as part of that is also all the various philanthropic trusts that are available as well, because I would give you a piece of advice: sustainability of this project, and you want to continue to grow it, will be about the strength of the partnerships and not just council, not just local government, and I'm sure that you're endeavouring to do that as well, to preach the word to make sure that you can attract other partners with it as well. But if you could answer about your knowledge of our Smarty Grants program, because we're accountable to the funds, to our ratepayers for what we allocated for.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of the Smarty Grants. There are a lot of grants open, so obviously I've been quite successful with industry funding, and we were looking at the Ports Corporation, Shell, etc. They've got their grants open now, the Engaging Science grants and those sort of things. But for this particular project, because we've done the pilot funded by the university and we were using council parks, we thought we'd come here first as the first point of call. I wasn't aware of the Smarty grants, so I can also take that avenue, and we will definitely investigate other partners, because I know that most of the industries are happy to co-invest in partnerships. We just thought we'd come to the council first.
Yeah, terrific. And I suppose the final one, and I've had discussions with your Chancellor and your Vice-Chancellor in relation to STEM, and we understand the significance of STEM and for what it stands for. But somewhere in amongst it, the A word's got to find its way in there, the artistic aspect that finds its way into the STEM program. I know that you're not going to make it STEAM, because STEM has stood the test of time. And as the chair of our Regional Arts Development Fund, there is funding available that allows for some artistic aspects in relation to the enhancement of our playgrounds.
Yeah, that's a great point. We did drawings with the children, and I totally advocate for arts in STEM, being the Deputy Dean of Research of School of Education and the Arts. And you are correct, I would almost say it's political. We have stuck with STEM and STEM Central as a university because that is where the funding and the government and the international recognition is. I do agree with you, we all agree in our school that the arts, it should be STEAM, but it is STEM, but I agree with you that we could look at other arts. I mean, World Science Festival.
There's a lot of things that we could do with the arts with this, because what was fascinating, and well, it's always fascinating for me, but for others that aren't aware, is how children represent their thoughts. And that's what art is. So, you know, one of our approaches in early childhood from other countries is Reggio Emilia. And Reggio Emilia, everything is underpinned by the 100 languages, which is the arts. So there's so much potential that we could do with children in the park, but also as displays, you know, even ongoing displays of children's representations of parks, you know, because children learn from other children. So.
Absolutely, and that's the creative aspects for the arts. So we're all children at heart anyway, but best wishes and good on you.
Thank you, Councillor. Good luck.
Thanks, Lynn and Linda. Love the idea. As a father with 3 young kids, I can see how this would help me engage with them rather than just boring them with my poor dad jokes when we go to the park. But I did query and I'm not sure whether I'd actually fit down some of the slides to test out whether I'd beat them or not. But with the signs, would you intend to have a number of different types of signs, and would we be able to perhaps move them around or renew them every 3 to 6 months or something? Because obviously once I take my kids down to Millennium Esplanade and they know the answers to the questions, they're going to be bored next time they go back. Is that something that you've thought about in the planning?
Yeah, that's a really good point. So Lynn and I drove around to start this, and we took photos of all the council parks and all the different equipment. So we came up with 5 signs that we thought would be more generic. So it was a swing, a slide, a seesaw, a spin and climb. So we had the 5 sort of themes that most parks had. But yeah, certainly could apply it to particular parks. So you could have signs particularly, I think once you've done the semi-permanent ones, you could have you know, ones that are more general that go to different parks. You could have the QR code could change the questions if you wanted to do it digitally. You could just have swing, and then you don't have to change a sign, and you go on the QR code. It really depends.
And you could have different levels too. So the QR code could be early childhood, primary, secondary,
depending on age.
so that, you know, you're catering for most age groups, you know, whatever up to 14 or
and code,
whoever uses the park.
And co-design of the signs is important. So we didn't design the signs until we'd been to the kindergartens and asked the 4-year-olds. So I think if you were to expand this project and keep going, we would liaise with whoever's parks, you know, whatever parks. We did find interesting data that we weren't expecting. As Lynn said, the children knew locations and geography. So we went to Yeppoon, and they're talking about 2 professors or something I'd never heard of at President's or something. And it was a coffee shop that was down the road, so they related where that was. And the other thing they talked about their embodied experiences. You know, there's a lot of potential for the project that, you know,
a lot of them got up, like for spinning, one little boy got up and was nearly a motorbike. But, you know, the leg was going, showing us.
Which is why we
couldn't really explain it, but he could show us, how does this move? Well, you put one leg here and you have to do this with your other leg. So they're very aware when they're asked.
Do we
But
still
when
have them in
they're
our
not
parks?
asked, those things just go in one ear, you know what I mean.
They also talked
And it's
about,
that language.
about the pretend play. So the most popular parks had the pirate ship or the whatever pretend play. They weren't, that dingo one at, Rocky, so yeah, we really found that as well. But yes, the potential could be if there was funding continually or industry or people put in, we could do a longer term one where every 3 to 6 months you could have themes, it could fit in with the port to park or whatever's activities are happening, you could certainly change it around. That would be quite easy.
No, that's great, thank you. And just curious, Lynn, you mentioned the language capability of kids before they hit prep 25% below the national average. I know, like Linda and I sit on the Boyne State School Council, I think it's called, and we know that kids that don't go to kindergarten can be 2 to 3 years before they catch up. Does that correlate directly with that 25% reduced language capability?
Yes, but it can be different children. What it does is there's 5 domains in the AEDC. So they talk about language literacy, social and emotional development, physical development. So in Boyne, and this is, data from probably 2018 that I'm thinking of, language and literacy and physical development, I think it was. There were 2 domains that were low. So it fluctuates, but we can see on a national level, the indicators of what's causing this. So, we know that poverty and low socioeconomic areas. So in Gladstone, we know that there was a shift. Once the international people left, there was a lot of people that came into town that affected our schooling, affected the special needs catering of those children that were coming in that were from a lower status. So it's about language development. We also know that the brain shrinks. So children who are highly developed, their brain and their amygdala are very strong. Children who are underdeveloped, it can cause, their brain not to be as active, not to be as fluid, and it's that stress hormone. So, yeah, the number of, I just went to a trauma-informed practice workshop last week in Brisbane, and they are, the research they've done in Melbourne, 65% of children have lived with trauma. So those children, they're not learning as effectively. It's not that they're not learning, the brain is, highly stimulated, but they're not learning as effectively as other children before they're 5. And that's really has lifelong impacts. And all the research tells us that.
No, I guess this is a great way that, it doesn't matter, I guess, what your socio-economic status is, everyone takes their kids to a park, so it's a way that we can reach all children, no matter where they come from.
Gladstone, who don't work, who don't attend playgroups because their husbands are, working in industry, it's a way for them to meet each other and talk this talk. Why is that there? Oh, I didn't realise, etc. So I think it's a way of getting people to focus on children, and that's probably, I think, the best thing we can do for the under 5s.
And it's fun.
Actually get people, exactly, to focus on their children. And, that's what I try to say, it's got to be de-stressed. Reading stories every night can be very stressful to a very stressed person. But if they flip their idea, it can be a very enjoyable,
And helping
relaxing
fathers
time.
like me with 4 dad
10
jokes.
minutes out. Yeah.
No, it's great, thank you.
And then bring back the roundabout at Central Park. I didn't know we still had spinning things in the parks. I thought they were outlawed. But there you go. There you go. Well, there was one at Central Park along when I was young, and you held on for grim death until the last person stayed on. Anyway, that's gone now. Councillor Cameron.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, this is a really, really good program. For small children to learn the basics very, very early in life is very important. I'm a prime example of that, where if you don't learn the basics, you struggle until you get that one-on-one, later on in education. So, yeah, a great project. Look, as far as funding is concerned, you might want to consider our Rotary clubs. You won't get 20 grand out of them, I can assure you of that. But, sorry? Well, you wouldn't out of ours because we're more astute, Councillor. But what you could do is you say you could buy one sign for you. So if you could knock that value down to what the value of a sign is. Well, we've got 8 Rotary clubs here. You would know that, wouldn't you? 8, yeah.
Sponsor a sign intermediate.
Yes, and if you get the award-winning club, which is South Gladstone, you could embarrass the rest of them into coming along. Yeah, look, the other thing that struck me too is you said that you had reluctance from the parents to engage, just to be a part of this. I'm a parent, I'm also a grandparent, so there's a big difference there because taking your children to the park is just basically respite. Right, get them out of the house, stop fighting, all that sort of business. As a grandparent, totally different. You notice the kids. I mean, I've got, 14 between Lenore and I now, and in that mix there's triplets, right? It's 3 totally different personalities from below, you know. So maybe involve your grandparents.
Right.
We actually did do a grandparent,
Yeah, we
your
did.
husband, reluctantly because we needed the data. So it's a very good point because we did see different things, and we did also, some of the team were talking about why would we have a QR code when we want to get people off devices. So we did have lots of those discussion. And as I was a stay-at-home mum for 7 years, and I agree with you, there is a reason to go to the park for respite, and there is for some people it is children go over there, safely play, so I can talk to an adult, or I can just sit and breathe, or I can check my emails or whatever. So we do acknowledge that that is also the purpose of a play park. I agree with you on that, and I do agree that's, we've sort of used the language parents and carers, but you're right, it's grandparents as well, totally different. And we did have, we had a grandparent that day, didn't she? She goes, oh, I'll put the GoPro on. I said, oh, we actually need the parent consent, so, you know, we couldn't, but I agree with you that the role of the grandparent is very different for the parent as
And
well.
very important in Gladstone, not just grandparents, but, you know, any older person who wants to interact with those children that are there that don't have grandparents in town, so.
Councillor Church, sorry, I'll go to Councillor Grady, I didn't see you there, and then I'll go to Councillor Churchill.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, so a few months back I went to the International Congress for Parks and Leisure, and they're actually making play parks now for the grandparents. So, which is really interesting. So, you know, it might pay to get onto their website and have a look. But, yeah, so it's just intergenerational play parks, they're calling them. So the grandparents can be stepping on the stepping stones while the little Johnny's on the high bar walking along the side and stuff like that. So, yeah, really, really interesting. So might pay to just jump onto their website.
Yeah, I didn't need a second, Mayor Matt. I'm happy to move that the deputation from the CQ University be proudly received.
Thank you. Councillor Churchill, second Councillor Hanson, and Councillor...
Just a comment, yes. Great-grandparents too need training.
Wow, wow.
And our 5-year-old is already doing experiments.
That's a good sign. I was eating mud. Councillor, good luck.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I've just got one question for you. Who would go down the slide the fastest, Matt or me?
Oh, politics.
We're not sure. We'd have to do an experiment.
I would suggest the slippery one.
I don't know. Councillor, good luck. I guess it will depend if it was a water slide or not.
I think it'll be a wonderful thing to have in all parks everywhere.
Lovely.
So
thought
are you
size had something
offering,
to do
so Councillor Goodluck, are you offering to wear a GoPro in the park
Absolutely.
with your children? Excellent.
Let's do it.
But the Rotary thing would be attainable if you go to the whole group, the whole combined clubs. It would be a great project, yes.
Councillor, good luck. I'll meet you at the park in Miriamvale. I think that would be the highest slide in the region. And I'll challenge you. See who goes faster. All right. Thank you. No further questions, councillors. It's moved Councillor Churchill, second, and Councillor Hanson that the deputation be received. To put the motion, all in favour is carried. Thank you to our guests this morning. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Thank you, councillors. The next item on the agenda is G4.1, which I have a conflict of interest in as previously declared, and I'll hand over to the Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So we've got item G/4.1, Boyne Aquatic Recreation Centre investment decision. Australian government funding, and I'll hand over now to Carly and Erickson. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, councillors. So this report today recommends entering into a... Sorry, I didn't realise you were still here.
We'll just wait for the Mayor to vacate the room. Thank you, Mr Mayor. Over to you, Carly.
Thank you. Good morning. So this report recommends entering into a funding agreement with the Australian Government for $15 million for the construction of the Boyne Tannum Aquatic and Recreation Centre, which we commonly know as BTARC. The BTARC project is an adopted strategic priority of Council, and pending an agreement being entered into, we will next proceed to release a tender for the construction of the project. Council would then next see the project approximately Q2 of next year at the time to award that tender if that process was successful, and that would then be the final investment decision for the project. I also have Erickson Noakes, who's our strategic project specialist and also the project lead for BTARC here as well today to answer any questions, and the recommendation is to proceed with entering the funding agreement.
Thank you, Carly. Any questions, councillors? Councillor Muscat.
Well, I've read the, thank you very much. I read the report, and I guess the only thing, obviously, we're not sure as to how much in total we'll be having to invest, or, you know, because we have conditions about what we're supposed to deliver with the 15 million. But, and my questions are answered here. I just wanted to say that this is probably my first project that, well, I know it's been going for a while, but seriously, that we have sat down and strategically planned it and then looked at all of the different variables, modelling, etc., etc. So I just wanted to thank you, and I wanted to thank Erickson and the people that work with Erickson for going through all these. And obviously we know that it hasn't been a smooth sailing, but these things are never are anyway. So thank you. And so yeah, I think as we have had this project in our priority project list for a number of years now, and I see this as a normal progression as to what we are aiming to go. Obviously, we have to go and do a couple more things, and this is just one more step in the process to get to where we have all, as a council, decided we want to go as per our priority project list. So just wanted to thank you, and yeah, I'm happy with the officer's recommendation.
Thanks, Councillor Muscat. We'll go to Councillor Cameron.
Yeah, thank you, Khan. The decision we're making today is to whether we accept the $15 million and proceed. So to me, that's a bit of a no-brainer that we should do that. But I'd just like to say that we have options after that as to whether and what type of project we go into. We will not know that until we go to tender and we get an actual price on this thing. From that point on, then we can make more intelligent decisions on the direction. But at this stage, I think that we should accept the officer's recommendation and proceed. And I'd be happy to move that.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron. We've got a few other questions. We'll come back to you. Councillor Churchill.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Khan. I'm happy to second Councillor Cameron's motion. I just wanted to make a comment, though, because my comment appropriately, as this project we've been provided with so much information over a long period of time. We thank you immensely. That's already been acknowledged, but the marketplace has changed quite dramatically over that period of time for those that are in business and industry, and even the local economy. The mums and dads are well aware of what's happened out there with the price of goods, the price of services, and the longer we continue with this, the more it's going to escalate. The reality of it is, when we first went on this journey, we felt it was extremely achievable, provided that we were able to source funding for it. And then appropriately, as you know, in your report, we got that commitment. But my research indicated that the delivery of a swimming pool, albeit an aquatic centre, was part of a long-term plan originally, planned by the Urban Land Development Authority, be it in partnership with the Queensland Government. So we're going back a ways here, that it was always part of the long-term financial plan. And the reality of it is that the community have been calling for this for some time. So it's been a topic of discussion by the Calliope Shire Council prior to the forced amalgamations, and then it still became a topic of discussion by the Gladstone Regional Council. So today is a defining moment. We've arrived. And I still believe that it's achievable. To what degree? And as Councillor Cameron indicated, we need to wait appropriately to find out what the costing's going to be when we go out to tender, if this resolution is supported. So my final comment is, it's been in the long-term financial plan, it's been visionary, the people are asking for it, and they've been asking for it for a long time, and it's achievable, and it's now time to deliver. Thank you.
Councillor Branthwaite.
Hey, Mr Deputy Mayor. Yeah, I agree with Councillor Churchill. My sort of thinking along the lines, it's been in the planning for such a long time. Like Cathy Bull, Maxine Bruce and myself sat down many years ago as a past president of the Boyne Town Swim Club. And my wife was a life member of that particular club. And it's been a dream for such a long time, back in the early 90s. And we did converse with the Calliope Shire Council at the time, and same piece of dirt, probably the other side of the hill, the other side of the gully, but the dream was always there for a splash palace, so to speak. It was going to be fantastic. So to see this come to this point now is the closest we've ever been, and this community needs this. It really does need this for not only for the future of the kids swimming, but the demands that the community require to get our kids in the water, get them swimming, but also the therapeutic and the community aspect from it as well. So, yeah, I think I've got no problem supporting this at all. Thank you.
Any other questions, councillors?
I've had my hand up for about half an hour, councillor.
I think you were after Councillor Branthwaite.
Thank you, Councillor.
Over to you.
You nearly gave me away.
I've been eagerly anticipating your contribution. Thank you.
I haven't got much. I'm happy to support the $15 million going forward, but you know, I've seen a lot of history about this pool too. Pre-amalgamation, there was a great opportunity for Calliope Council to get a swimming pool at that time. After amalgamation, there was another opportunity, and it was defeated by, I think, Councillor Burnett and I were the only ones that voted for that motion to proceed for a town centre. I think people at Boyne and Tannum would remember that one, which included a pool. We've come a long way, and I think the original cost of this was estimated under $20 million. We've gone now to somewhere near $30 million. So you can see it's getting a little bit more complex, and the funding that this needs to be provided, Council are under the intention that it would all be funded outside. So we've got a little way to go, but this is a good start. And I just remind people that we have to be fiscally responsible and opportunistic as well as we move forward. So, thank you.
Any further questions, councillors? Councillor Trevor.
It would be remiss of me not to say something. I've waxed and waned between yes and no, as you all know, in relation to this project during the course of it being prepared to reach at least one conclusion today once the decision of this table is made. But at the end of the day, I've adopted a pragmatic approach to it, and that is that I'll support the motion to proceed to sign the federal agreement. The reason behind that, of course, is that having been a federal member of Parliament and having walked the corridors of power down in Canberra for 3 years, I know just how hard it is to secure funding from the feds. And I want to take this opportunity to thank Mayor Matt for the enormous amount of time and effort that went into securing this funding on behalf of the Gladstone region and more particularly the Boyne-Tanham community. Let us never underestimate his achievement in this regard because, as I say, I know how hard it is to knock on ministers' doors, sleep outside their rooms if you have to secure funding for your community. With 150 electorates throughout the nation, I think it might even be 151 now, everyone is clamouring for funding, and it's a great credit to him to have achieved that outcome. I wish the Boyne-Tanham community well in its endeavours to secure the ultimate arrival of this pool. I won't be around to make that decision for you, but what I did want to say is it can't be just another pool. We have enough of them in this community, enough of just a pool. It has to be something big, it has to be something bright, it has to be something that bristles with fun and laughter to attract not only the Boyne-Tanham community to its precinct, but also the greater region. If it does that, it will succeed. If it's just another pool, I believe that it won't. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Trevor. Nothing further? No? That's part of the issue with waiting till last, isn't it, Councillor O'Grady? But this has been a project that has been wanted and needed by the Boyne-Tanham community for over 30 years. Many people have advocated for it. In 2018, this council, albeit the former council, decided to go on the journey to deliver this project. Since that time, there was feasibility study, concept designs, community consultation. There was the preparation and submission and approval of a development application. And then in 2020, was it? 21, Matt Burnett, and I'd like to echo Councillor Trevor's acknowledgement of Matt Burnett. He decided to put his hand up to seek election in the federal parliament to represent our community and was unsuccessful, but it takes a tremendous amount of courage to do that. And in the process of that, he secured $15 million. The reality is, without that funding, this project we may not be in the position to proceed here. So I'd like to acknowledge Matt Burnett for that contribution, even though he's not in the room today, because this has been a project that the Boyne-Tanham community has sought for decades, and we are finally in the position where we might be able to deliver this facility. So we do. With that being said, I don't think there's any more questions, councillors. I think we've got a mover in Councillor Cameron. Sorry, Councillor Muscat, did you have something else? Yep.
I just wanted to also say thank you to you, because there's been some critical steps that you've taken over the years to get to where we are. So just that.
Thank you, I appreciate that. But the council as a team, we've arrived here today. So I think we've got a, thank you. We've got a mover in Councillor Cameron and a seconder in Councillor Churchill. If there's no further questions, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? And we'll declare the motion carried. Thank you very much. We'll invite Mayor Matt back into the room, and
could you put unanimously? On that?
Can we call a division there, Tanya, please? Yes. We'll call a division. I think you've got that everyone was in favour of that. No. There we go. Thank you, Councillor Hanson.
Very good point.
Thank you, Tanya. We'll invite Mayor Matt back in the room for item number G/4.2.
Jeez,
Thanks, Carly and Erickson.
I'm having trouble with me, buddy. I'm having trouble with me prostrate at the moment. I need to go for a pee again.
And I'm still not going to let you win down the slide, so.
No, I'll wait for Smoko. When are you going to have Smoko, mate?
Thank you, councillors. The next item on the agenda is G4.2, which is our Saiki Sister City Committee 2024 report. I'll hand over to you, Kylie, our General Manager of Community and Lifestyle.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Good morning, Mayor and councillors and members of the gallery. I've got our Council's Community Development Officer, Rebecca Creedy, with me this morning. Rebecca is also the Secretariat of our Saiki Sister City Committee. This report seeks your endorsement of the new committee for 2024 and also to table the President Wendy Marsh's report for 2023. This year we have 16 community representatives that have nominated for the Saiki Sister City Committee for 2024. We also will table a paper in April 2024 seeking councillor participation. We've seen continued strength of this committee. I do acknowledge it is a volunteer committee and they do donate their time so generously, which is really valued. So thank you to the 2023 committee. I'd also like to acknowledge our councillor representation on the Saiki Sister City Committee, Councillor O'Grady and Councillor Churchill, and also to thank Councillor O'Grady for your commitment and your dedication over the years in acknowledging this 2023 committee as your final Saiki Sister Committee. So thank you, Councillor O'Grady. And I'd also like to acknowledge the significant amount of work that Beck does in her role in as Secretariat of this committee. The Saiki Sister City Committee has gone from strength to strength and it's a really active and bustling committee. Beck will go through the report in a second, but I'd just like to read out the nominations for 2024's committee. This is an appointment for 12 months up to the 31st of December 2024. So Wendy Marsh is nominated to continue as President. Carolina Bokos, Ayoko Carrick, Robina Kupit, Beverly Fellows, Jacqueline Iwasaka, Howard Marsh, Peter Masters, Maureen Mason, Chris Moore, Yukiko Moore, Peter O'Dwyer, Mayumi Ray DiBosio, did I say that right? Good, excellent. Gay Sirius, Cameron Walker and Aaron Yeh. So I'd like to hand over to Rebecca to go through the highlights of the 2023 President's Report.
Thank you, and that's really exciting for the committee because we're seeing all 12 of our committee members return and 4 new committee members as well. So I'm privileged to share the highlights of our Saiki Committee President Wendy Marsh's report. The Saiki Sister Advisory Committee is an active committee that continues to grow in numbers, facilitating significant achievements. There is renewed optimism that the school exchanges will occur in the foreseeable future following positive communications and enthusiasm between the schools. During the year, a member of the committee privately visited Saiki and was warmly welcomed, making several contacts. And these contacts have proven invaluable to the initiatives that the committee are looking to implement in 2024. Committee members are investigating the possibility of online gaming competitions, sporting and cultural exchanges, and another member is actively seeking a formal relationship between her school and a school in Saiki. The committee really wanted to do a special thank you to the staff and volunteers at the Gladstone Regional Art Gallery and Museum who have planned and organised many of the events that have caught the imagination of residents in the Gladstone region, including the Saiki Children's Art Competition, the Children's Day activities, the Celebrate Australia Primary School Arts Competition, and the Intercity Images photographic exhibition. Also, the staff at Tondoon Botanic Gardens have sensitively appraised and planned many projects to promote awareness of the friendship between the sister cities, including wooden carvings, signage, native fish and plants, a tipping water feature and basin, and bonsai exhibitions. Throughout the year, committee members attended events that inform the public and facilitate understanding between the Gladstone region and Saiki, including the annual book exchange at the Mayor's Youth Breakfast, interactions with the public at Flourish, and the PopCon event. Packages of materials, including lesson plans, have been distributed to local schools to commemorate the signing of the Declaration of Friendship and the installation of the Shorebirds artwork. The Gladstone Regional Council brand and communications team is also in the process of redesigning and updating the Sister City website. The committee has continued traditions and sought out new ways of communicating with the local community and our friends in Japan, enabling possibilities of self-growth and community development throughout our sister city friendship. Thank you.
Thanks, Beck.
Thanks, Beck. Over to councillors for their endorsement and acceptance of the annual report.
Yep. Can I go to Councillor O'Grady and Churchill first as the members of the committee, then I'll throw over this side. Yep.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. In 2016, I was given the task, wasn't a task really, to go join the Sister City program, which I've immensely enjoyed. And it was at that stage, 2016-17, they were thinking about actually closing it because we had nobody come on board. But thank goodness to things that have been happening in the community, we've had people come along and just join. The last 2 years has just been absolutely amazing. But I'd like to really thank Beck for doing what that she has done for the committee, because otherwise I think without you, things wouldn't have progressed as quickly as they have. So yes, I'd like to thank you. And also, obviously, this is probably the last time as a councillor I'm going to speak about it. So also we went on a trip in 2018, 18? Yeah, so that was really rewarding. Maureen and I went over earlier to have a holiday. I paid for my own way. But anyway, that was okay. And then the Mayor came across later, and Lisa came across. And yeah, it was just amazing just to see the culture and how much the similarities we've got within the two cities, except they build ships over there. So I'm really hoping that some of the big ships that get built do come to, I know some do, to come to Gladstone, so for that partnership. So with moving forward with hydrogen and stuff like that. So I'm really looking forward to seeing that happen. So, but yeah, so I'd like to thank everybody that's been on the committee since I've been on council from 2016, and thanks, Kylie, to yourself too for leading the way. So great, thank you. And Councillor Churchill too, who's been there with me. So it's been fantastic. It's been one of my favourite committees actually. So thank you.
With us on that trip were the students from one of the high schools as well. We did temporarily lose one, but we found her very quickly. Gus Stedman's daughter. Yes, she missed the bus.
Oh, she fell asleep on the train.
Fell asleep on the train.
Fell asleep, yeah.
I was like, oh, God. Why did that have to happen while we were here? But anyway, everyone arrived safely in the end, and very good. Councillor Churchill.
I'm really hoping that in the next year or so that the Mayor and councillors from Seiki come over. It's their return, ready for their return, because we went there last, because then we had COVID. So yeah, so no.
I wrote to the Mayor yesterday, sent a Christmas card over, and said we're looking forward to welcoming you to Gladstone soon.
Yeah, so even though I might be in council, I'd like to be involved. I was thinking about putting an application in actually to join, but in my GapNet year next year, you might see my name on it for the year after. So thank you.
Lovely. Councillor Churchill.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Matt. I'll make it brief. I've been on there for a shorter period of time, as 4 years, and I endorse Councillor O'Grady's comments. The other aspect is that the significance of the international relationship, friendship and the fellowship and the interaction, and what's happened and what I've seen over the past couple of years is now we're starting to see a very good, strong intergenerational approach to this. So, you know, the seniors of years of experience and knowledge and understanding are now getting this youthful enthusiasm coming in with interaction by technology. And it was wonderful that our Youth Council representatives that have been, as part of their role on the Youth Council, came onto the Seiki Sister City Advisory Committee, and then when their term finished on the Youth Council, they continued on with. So that's a sign of strength, and appropriately, the other exciting thing is now for next year, Rebecca, I understand, through you, Madam CEO, I applaud what Rebecca and all of our officers have been doing to strengthen this partnership and relationship. But we're now putting together a calendar of events. So if there's anyone out there listening in at this stage, or anyone within the chambers today, if any other ideas of opportunities and events, we'd love to hear from it for the committee. But yeah, well done, congratulations.
Thank you. Councillor Muscat, did you have a question?
No, I just wanted to move the officer's recommendation, if that was okay.
Absolutely. Moved Councillor Muscat, seconded Councillor Grady, sorry. Councillor Hanson, you have a question?
Yeah,
Yes.
just had a
Councillor
question.
Hanson.
Probably a question of Wendy, she's not here. I'm just wondering, my recollection, committees are a size of about 6 to 8. My best committee is 1. I'm just wondering how you can manage a committee of 16. That was my only question, and probably Wendy could answer that one, or you may be able to answer that one.
Really lucky with this committee because we have that we have that wealth of knowledge that's coming from our long-term members, which we do see a really good dedication from. There's rarely a meeting where somebody doesn't turn up. And we also have the online capabilities as well. So sometimes the members that are at Tondoon Gardens or our art gallery who have a really massive contribution to the committee but can be a little bit more time poor, they can Teams in. But yeah, we have 2 youth members that are joining, and they come with a lot of enthusiasm, particularly towards the gaming competition and the popcorn events. And as Councillor Churchill mentioned, we're doing a calendar of events. So in January, we're going to be doing a planning meeting, and we're going to be looking at the events for the year and having subcommittees of people that are working towards things that they're passionate about. So. And I think just having a once-a-month meeting too, the commitment's not too high, we'll be drawing people in. So I feel confident that we'll be able to manage it.
Thank you.
It's great to see so many people wanting to be involved. Over 25 years of sister city relationship with Saiki it's working very well. Okay, no further questions. Moved by Councillor Muscat, seconded by Councillor O'Grady. For the officer's recommendation, we'll put the motion all in favour. That's carried. Councillors, we'll now break for a very brief morning tea. Thank you, Kylie. Thank you, Beck. And we'll be back shortly. Thank you, Josh.
Sign up to Council's disaster and weather event warning system. Receive alerts about emergency news, severe weather events and other public safety alerts via SMS or email. Registering to the disaster messaging system is free. To register, visit Gladstone Regional Council's Region Watch website and click on the Register for Warnings button. Get ready, Gladstone. Take the steps to protect what's most important to you. Let's be better prepared and protected for emergencies and disasters.
Gladstone Regional Council are committed to fostering a proud, involved and engaged community. The Gladstone Regional Council Community Investment Program provides financial support to local community initiatives, projects and events which promote community connections, regional enhancements, community celebrations and community education. For more information on the Community Investment Program, visit gladstone.qld.gov.au. Gladstone Regional Council. Connect, innovate, diversify.
Illegal dumping and littering is a concern across the Gladstone region, with over 134 offences in the last 18 months. Our region is beautiful, but there are a few bad apples that ruin it for the rest of us, and they need to clean up their act.
Commonly found items at illegal dumping sites across the region include car bodies and batteries, mattresses, tyres, white goods and furniture, and green waste. These items can be disposed of at any of the region's waste transfer stations, some of them even for free.
Illegal dumping and littering pollutes our environment, harms plants and animals, and detracts from the enjoyment of our public spaces. It can lead to stormwater and ocean pollution, with large amounts of plastic, sugar sachets and cigarette butts caught in stormwater traps and grates.
It's cheaper for everyone to dispose of waste correctly. Illegal dumping and littering costs our ratepayers thousands of dollars each year in waste management and clean-up. It's also costly for our dumper, with penalties of up to $10,000.
We can all work together to keep our region beautiful and dispose of waste responsibly by placing rubbish in the bins, or even holding onto the rubbish until you're near a suitable bin, and using our local waste facilities. Don't be part of the problem of pollution. We want you to be a part of the solution.
From towns to the bush, illegal dumping and littering is everybody's responsibility. Protect our public spaces and natural environment by doing the right thing for today and tomorrow.
If you see illegal dumping,
Dob in a dumper.
See it,
report it, stop it.
Sign up to Council's disaster and weather event warning system. Receive alerts about emergency news, severe weather events and other public safety alerts via SMS or email. Registering to the disaster messaging system is free. To register, visit Gladstone Regional Council's Region Watch website and click on the Register for Warnings button. Get ready, Gladstone. Take the steps to protect what's most important to you. Let's be better prepared and protected for emergencies and disasters.
Gladstone Regional Council are committed to fostering a proud, involved and engaged community. The Gladstone Regional Council Community Investment Program provides financial support to local community initiatives, projects and events which promote community connections, regional enhancements, community celebrations and community education. For more information on the Community Investment Program, visit gladstone.qld.gov.au. Gladstone Regional Council. Connect, innovate, diversify.
Illegal dumping and littering is a concern across the Gladstone region, with over 134 offences in the last 18 months. Our region is beautiful, but there are a few bad apples that ruin it for the rest of us, and they need to clean up their act.
Commonly found items at illegal dumping sites across the region include car bodies and batteries, mattresses, tyres, white goods and furniture, and green waste. These items can be disposed of at any of the region's waste transfer stations, some of them even for free.
Illegal dumping and littering pollutes our environment, harms plants and animals, and detracts from the enjoyment of our public spaces. It can lead to stormwater and ocean pollution, with large amounts of plastic, sugar sachets, and cigarette butts caught in stormwater traps and grates.
It's cheaper for everyone to dispose of waste correctly. Illegal dumping and littering costs our ratepayers thousands of dollars each year in waste management and clean-up. It's also costly for our dumper, with penalties of up to $10,000.
We can all work together to keep our region beautiful and dispose of waste responsibly by placing rubbish in the bins, or even holding onto the rubbish until you're near a suitable bin, and using our local waste facilities. Don't be part of the problem of pollution. We want you to be a part of the solution.
From towns to the bush, illegal dumping and littering is everybody's responsibility. Protect our public spaces and natural environment by doing the right thing for today and tomorrow.
If you see illegal dumping,
dive in a dumper.
See it,
report it, stop it.
Sign up to Council's disaster and weather event warning system. Receive alerts about emergency news, severe weather events and other public safety alerts via SMS or email. Registering to the disaster messaging system is free. To register, visit Gladstone Regional Council's Region Watch website and click on the Register for Warnings button. Get ready, Gladstone. Take the steps to protect what's most important to you. Let's be better prepared.
Well, thank you, councillors, and welcome back to those watching online. We move to the next item on the agenda, which is G4.3, our Gates and Grids Subordinate Local Law. And I'll hand over to the General Manager of Finance, Governance and Risk, Mark Holmes, and also welcome Vicky Hankinson to the table.
Morning, Mayor. Morning, councillors. This report is essentially looking at taking the final steps with respect to our making of a local law to support our essentially regulation of our gates and grids across the region. We've been going through a number of steps with respect to that gates and grids local law since we made the decision to look at simplifying some of those processes, and we've gone through the last of those consultation essentially hoops. Now we've got the feedback from our constituents and also stakeholders across the business. The recommendation before you is to adopt the local law, but make some amendments to the subordinate local law just based on some of those items of feedback. In the report there, you'll see there's essentially three principles in and around those changes. One, that essentially the permits are for the life of the essentially structure. They're not essentially an annual arrangement. One is in and around essentially simplifying responsibility and with respect to maintenance of road and works on roads in and around the structure. So there was previously in the local law there some works that required the landowner to, if they're maintaining 5 metres of either side of the structure, to be responsible for that. We're saying that that's actually responsibility of the road operator, being council, and we'll be picking that data up through our road inspection process. And so that's essentially is in and around the major changes there. There is a number of benefits of making those changes, that particularly in and around probably streamlining the process for both administratively, but also for our asset inspectors in the field, so that makes it clear as to who owns what in that space and who's responsible for the maintenance in those spaces. But happy to take any questions with respect to that. There is a minor decision point for you,
Number 4.
and that's with respect to whether we want to apply a transitionary fee with respect to these permits.
Point 4, councillors, there's obviously recommendations 1, 2 and 3. Point 4 has an A or a B. A, set an application fee of $75, or B, not impose a fee for a gate or grid application.
Yep.
Can I have some discussion around that question, please, councillors? Any questions?
Yeah, mate, just a brief question. Just in relation to the annual compliance inspection, that's our officers that do that, and they're... So just explain to me, just from a practical perspective, how the annual compliance inspection occurs, and is that done on a sort of around the region approach, or is it the property owners getting someone to have something signed as it fulfills the compliance? Just put it to me in common
So, Councillor
sense
Churchill,
terminology.
the proposal is that one of the approval conditions will that at a very bare minimum, the landowner has to undertake an annual compliance inspection, and that's to ensure themselves that it's structurally sound, it's safe, and it's trafficable, fit for purpose. We are not asking landowners to send in a copy of the outcome of that compliance inspection, but we ourselves as a council will have basically a catch-all for the inspection process, in that our officers will also be, as they inspect the roads to assess what maintenance is required, we'll also inspect the structures to make sure that we, as the road owner, are assuring ourselves that that structure is safe and trafficable and fit for purpose.
Okay, so the property owners, it'll be a self-inspection of compliance level,
yes.
And the other part of it is that as part of our asset inspections, as we're doing road upgrades, roadworks, repairs, et cetera, around the region, they'll have a look at it at that time and bring it to the attention of the property owner if they feel that it doesn't.
Yeah, and one of the other standard conditions of the permit will be that council has the right for, if we conduct an inspection on the structure and we may have some concerns about it, then we will actually send out some inspection criteria for the landowner to complete and then send that back into us. And we might ask them to do further works as a result of that additional inspection process.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Any further questions, councillors? Are we looking at, if you're happy with the rest of the recommendation, for point 4, I need someone to consider whether there should be a fee applied or not applied. Or not applied, maybe. Councillor Cameron.
In implying a fee, does that also identify the grid or gate?
Vicky?
It'll be the landowner's responsibility to put their approval number on this on the structure so that we can easily track it. So that will be one of their approval conditions. Yep. Yes.
If I could just make some commentary around the fee. I think it's two ways. The $75 recognises that there is effort that goes in from an administrative side for council, but having no fee is also, we've been in a state of flux in the gates and grids, so the no fee may also encourage landowners to get involved and participate in the scheme. So they're the two things that we're weighing up in those two options.
Okay, well, I like the idea of landholders getting involved. This has been a long process, and I recognise there's some people, even in the gallery today, that are not necessarily fans of grids, but we've got to get a balance here, and I think this is getting there. If we can get more landholders involved, that's not worth the $75 argument. Councillor O'Grady.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. You just said exactly what I was going to say, because I think $75 really is nothing, and administration fee would not even cover it.
Okay. I'm happy to move the motion appropriately and that we don't impose a fee as outlined in dot point 4B.
Thank you, Councillor Churchill. Seconder for that motion, please. Yes. Councillor Trevor.
As a seconder.
Yes.
I'm prepared to swap if you.
Councillor Trevor seconding, and that as a question or a comment?
No, I just needed to get on the record. I didn't ask council meeting, so I made sure I got on to that.
Okay.
On the record.
Very good.
Very
Councillor
good.
Goodluck, is that a question?
Yes. Thank you, Mr Mayor. So, just confirming, Vicky, this is around the permit. So that this is the requirements under the permit that will be that we've introduced into the subordinate local law. Yep. Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Perfect.
I'm quite happy to circulate to councillors the standard conditions that will attach to a transitionary permit, if councillors are interested.
So how do we determine who's on a permit and who's handed ownership to council? We're still relying on landowners to notify council of which option they prefer?
That's right. I'll be writing to all structure owners after today's meeting, asking them to nominate which management option they would like moving forward to take effect from the 1st of January. So the options are, A, you would like council to take responsibility for the gate or grid. Option 2 is that they want to get an approval or a permit for the structure themselves. Option 3 will be, I no longer need this structure and it needs to be removed from the public road system. So I'll be asking landowners to return those forms. For those that take up option 2, they'll have an accompanying simple form that they will fill out to apply for the transitionary permit. And those transitionary permits will only be available for existing structures that are in the road system now, and they can only apply for one of those up until the 31st of December next year. So we're looking at having that management structure determined for each installation set in concrete by the 31st of December 2024.
And if a landowner fails to nominate which option they prefer by the 31st of December, what is the
correspondence going out will say that if we get nothing back in return, we'll assume that there's no interest in the structure, and we'll start the removal process, which is basically advertising that this structure, nobody has an interest in it. We'll give people 30 days to respond to that notice at the structure, and if we get no feedback at all, then we'll commence the removal process.
Yeah, it's the 31st of December really soon. I know, I like the 30...
No, 2024.
Oh, next year, righto.
Yeah,
that's fine.
12 months.
I was going to say, you're giving them a few weeks. Okay, good.
Yes, sorry, councillors, it's a 12-month
12-month
transitionary process.
Yeah, that's plenty of time.
So can I, as the mover of the motion, I suppose, and to the satisfaction of the seconder to ensure that it's working, I would imagine there'd be some sort of review prior to the timeline of the 31st of December 2024, perhaps part of the budget, or maybe not necessarily budget discussion, but we'd need to find out, how it's going, warts and all. Success, failure, is there another way of doing it, perhaps?
Exactly. Over the next 12 months, we'll be working really hard to...
Councillor Trevor will be watching this very closely, I have no doubts,
Yes, we'll
make sure it works.
Yeah, we'll be working really hard to establish ownership for each and every structure. We've got several strategies around that, but we're hoping by the 31st of December next year, it will be very clear who's responsible for each of these structures, and we'll have a sound system in place to make sure that they remain safe and trafficable for our community.
Come a long way to get here, haven't we? Thank you.
We've got Councillor O'Grady, then Councillor Goodluck, and then maybe Councillor Muscat. Councillor O'Grady.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Now, just a question. So you said, after 12 months, if you don't hear from them, you're going to take them up. So would you send them a courtesy letter to say, we're going to pull your grid up next week? Or because we don't want...
12 months is plenty of time. I thought about a week.
Yeah.
They haven't responded.
Like there could be like a change of ownership. There's
Exactly
a lot
right.
of other things to
We
consider.
certainly won't be rushing into the removal process. We'll be having consultation with those people that surround the structure because they're the most likely to be the owner or need the structure in the road. So yes, there'll be a lot of consultation happening before you will see something removed. Out of interest, we've already had 5 landowners saying that they no longer need their structures, and they've got fencing strategies in place. So 5 of those will be out of our road network in the next month or so.
Oh,
yeah.
Right.
There
Okay.
you go. Councillor Goodluck, and then Councillor Muscat.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Can you give me some context, Vicky, around what circumstance would it be a mandatory circumstance where council would request a report about the safety and compliance and the structural integrity that has to be certified by an RPEQ engineer? Is that on a specific circumstance where we fear there might be a danger or a risk, or is that going to be a mandatory because we know we will not get an RPEQ certification on 90% of the grids that are in the region?
We would definitely take a reasonable approach to that. So if we were really, really concerned that the grid was going to collapse, then we'll consider what options are available to us to ensure that it gets repaired appropriately and that it is fit for purpose, whether that's an RPEQ certification or whether it's some other certification that our engineers may be able to offer. It's definitely going to be assessed on a case-by-case basis. The RPEQ certification requirement is really only going to come into play where they're new structures and somebody would like to take up the option of not putting in an Australian standard certified grid structure. Then we would look to have RPEQ certification on that new structure that's going to go into the road that isn't necessarily constructed to Australian standard.
Okay, so because part of the reason that we're here is because obviously we wanted to have certified grids, which means we'd have to spend, I think they're about $30,000 for an RPEQ certified grid, and that the old rail lines that are sitting in the a lot of the grids around the region that have had trucks driving over them for 60 years will never get that RPEQ certification. So I just want confirmation that we are not going to, unless it's a specific circumstance with a specific risk, we're not going to go and send out letters requiring all those grids to be RPEQ certified.
I don't anticipate that, no, Councillor.
right.
We would take a much more practical approach to that.
Yeah, okay. I love that. Thank you very much for all the work that you've done. This has been a saga of years in the making, and I'm hopeful that landowners out there will engage with us and that we've achieved the right balance to move forward. So thank you very much.
Councillor Muscat.
Thank you. I was just kind of going to say a similar thing in relation to how much work is taken, and also a little reflection and considering that we are now moving on to next year's and the fact that we have local government elections, and how interesting it is for those watching or here too, that we go from discussing things about parks and children to gates and grids and to friendship in different countries, and it's just the role is just so diverse, and sometimes we can't know everything, but we rely on people that know what they're good at their job in their specific fields. So, and sometimes we don't get it right the first time, so we go back and review it again. So I think this is I actually have much more pleasure in getting it wrong and then going back and looking at things again and then getting it right than just to get it right the first time. I know it's a pain to have to go back, but sometimes the humbleness that we bring, all of us in a way, to then say, well, okay, this didn't really work. We thought it was going to work, but it didn't, so we're going to go and have a look at it again. So I think that's kind of one of the things that I'm learning out of this process too.
Thanks, Councillor Muscat. No further questions, councillors. It's moved Councillor Churchill, seconded Councillor Trevor. The officer's recommendation and point B being there be no fee. Put that motion. All in favour? Motion is carried. Thank you, Vicky. Thank you, Mark. No, Mark, you stay. G 4.4 is the revised building over or near council infrastructure policy. Are you staying too, Vicky? Thank you.
Staying.
Yeah, back to you.
Yeah. So, Council, this is our revision of our building over and near council infrastructure policy. Essentially, the revision seeks to make sure that we're in alignment with those Queensland Development codes that are in place, but also other legislation that exists to control infrastructure of not only councils but other state authorities in the network with respect to water supply, to ensure that there's the appropriate coverage over those. So this changes, we'll see that we simplify the policy, we get rid of those duplications in that Queensland Development Code. We also remove those pieces that were in conflict with the previous policy with respect to both easements and also indemnities in that space. But happy to take any questions.
Thank you. I think this one's straightforward. Councillors, any questions? Move Councillor Hanson, seconded Councillor Cameron. May have had to do a few of these in his time. Put the motion. All in favour? Oh, what? Hold on. Oh, no. Oh, no. I didn't take the vote. I've got a mover and a seconder. What would you like to say? I put the motion. All in favour? It's carried. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Vicky. Move to G 4.5, sale of land 2023-24. Back to you, Mark.
Thank you, Mayor and Councillors. This item is with respect to the sale of land process for our 23-24 arrears of rates. So essentially we've gone through the close of discount period and due dates for our 23-24 rate levy, and as part of that we've now got to starting our debt collection process. We do have some properties that have qualified for sale, and we do see that this process does yield, in terms of debt recovery, good outcomes for the business. So at this stage, we do have 36 properties that are essentially qualified for that process, and we'll be looking to commence that process. Once we start get the resolution, then we'll start to outwork that. So this process requires notification to all parties, not only the owners, but anyone who has an interest in that property.
IG the mortgagee, Councillor Branthwaite.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was just looking at the attachment. I noticed there's about 3 or 4 properties on there that their arrears are not huge, and look as though there's been a payment system entered into to keep them down. What's the normal breach of that with the payments? If there's there's one here about halfway down the list. That's got 1 year out. It's got $1,400, and then the next one has missed out. Hasn't paid the rates. So there's only 2 years there, and it's on the list of divestment with or for sale.
I'll let our manager of revenue leave.
Yeah, I just want a bit of clarity.
Those are our vacant land properties, and we can take default action on them after 1 year outstanding rates. So we have started that process.
All right.
Yeah.
So and
no payment has been received.
Yeah. All right. And for the sake of those people looking online, not all these properties actually end up going to market because there's some agreement being put in place when they brings everything to a head. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Once it gets to this point, though,
yeah.
They've had every opportunity to enter an agreement, and now they must pay the balance.
Yeah.
But 99.9 are paid. Very,
Right.
very rarely does it get beyond this, especially when you look at the mortgagee on the side. The bank almost universally pays the outstanding rates.
So it does bring everything to a head. That's the
Yes,
good point.
absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, so once this resolution's made and the notices in particular are issued,
Yeah.
the whole debt, to conclude the process, the whole debt is required to be paid.
Cool. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, councillors, any further questions? Can I have a mover, please? Move Councillor Branthwaite, second Councillor Muscat. He got his last one. Put the motion. All in favour? Thank you. Thank you. And it's carried. Okay. Councillors, the next item on the agenda is G4.6. It's an expression of interest 10124, repurposing of various waste streams. Back to you, Mark.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We've also got Chris Irving, our Manager of Waste Operations, up to help with any questions you may have in this space. So as part of starting our EOI process, we first must get a resolution to essentially enter into that process. The reason why we're looking at entering into an EOI in this space is we just don't quite know what the market has for offer in the space, particularly with respect to waste recycling and waste collection, with respect to the number of different waste streams that we collect at our various transfer stations and Benarabi landfill. Mm-hmm. So it really is about opening the conversation with the market. So this is probably the first step of where you will see this document, and then at the conclusion of the EOI, we'll then bring back a further report for your consideration to make a further decision. But this is really just kicking off that process.
Fantastic. Councillor Hanson, then Churchill.
I would be happy to move that motion, please.
Okay.
Can I speak for the motion?
Yep, you can speak for it, or you want to move it first?
I'm not going to speak against it.
Okay, move Councillor Hanson. I'll get a seconder, and then I'll come back to Councillor Branthwaite. Back to you, Councillor Hanson.
Having been interested in waste operations over many, many years, and observing the opportunities that we've lost in this time, I'm delighted to see something like this happen, Chris, and I think it's essential we move forward with vigour on this. You know, we've also got a waste education officer now as well, so that's another step forward. So overall, I'm very, very happy with the way we're moving now with waste. It's been, in a word, slow to snail pace in the over the previous 15 years. So congratulations, go for it.
Thank you. You're happy to second, and do you have a question or anything with that as well?
No, I just want to echo Councillor's words. I think Chris being in the role too, you've actually propelled it forward, which is real congratulations to you as well. Thank you.
Councillor Churchill, you had a question, and then Councillor Muscat.
And I won't waste any time here with this one, but Far from it, Councillor Muscat. Far from it. It's a great idea. It's a great idea, Chris. Mark, through you, Mark, and thank Councillor Hanson and I think also Councillor Braithwaite for what you've been doing in the waste arena as well. I'd just like to understand, this is a great idea, innovative idea. Here it comes to the Gladstone Regional Council. Totally support it. But what's CQ Rock doing when we consider that we've had a whole of central Queensland approach to waste management? We talk about waste management infrastructure, we talk about movement of waste around our region, we talk about the Smurf, and we talk about education, and the list goes on. So
Murph.
Well, Murph or Herf or whatever the case might be, whatever the acronym might be, but I'd just love to get an understanding if we're bringing forward a great idea for the Gladstone region. Waste knows no boundaries. The reality of it is that there is that movement of waste out there in the marketplace. So I'd love to know what the interaction is with our other fellow local governments and as what CQ Rock has as an agenda item for the future.
Thanks, Councillor. I probably can't comment directly on the current happenings of CQ Rock with my level of involvement. In terms of the operational interactions within the CQ Rock councils, if we look at the approach we're taking here, there's been discussions within that group around the other councils also interested in what comes from this expression of interest, because as you said, we've all got the same types of waste. We know that there's far field options for some of these things. There's some cost prohibitions for some of those solutions. So when we look at here, a solution might come from hopefully the Gladstone region, might come from the broader central Queensland region, and as part of this there might be other CQ Rock councils that could also benefit from the market solutions that come from this work. Even my peer at Rockhampton had recent conversations with him last week around him wanting to see some of the solutions that come from our exercise here. So then if we look at some other contracts that are in place now, we do joint contracts, so there's an opportunity here that if there's an option that benefits all, we can do a joint procurement activity in that space as well.
Okay, no, that's great. I mean, as long as we're sharing and working together for the betterment of the whole region. Thank you.
Absolutely, that's happening.
The regional plan was developed with the consideration of all officers and councillors around the region, so it'll be of interest to us to stay in that partnership.
Councillor Muscat.
Thank you. Thanks, Chris, and Mark, but especially you, Chris. It is great to see this happening anyway. I just wanted to get your thoughts around, well, first, there's two things. The process, once we get all these, some responses or look at what's available. So what's the process after that, and how do we get to decide what we like or don't like, or how is there going to be another paper? Are we engaging directly with that? Is it coming back here? And the other question, which just it's just a comment. I have been talking a lot, especially in the procurement space, about social procurement, and I think there's a great opportunity here to look at some of those solutions. I know it's great sometimes to partner, but at the same time, I would love to see partnering, but as well local impact here for especially organisations that work for a purpose, and environmental purpose is a big one when it comes to social procurement. So I've been asking for a few years, and I know the procurement space is not, the best, friendliest place at the moment, but I think this will be a wonderful place to start, or at least to have that in mind. I know we have the buy local situation, but there's also the impact situation, which I like to see if we can incorporate in here. So there's that. That's just a comment, and then the one is sort of the process that happens after.
From a process perspective, so there will be an evaluation panel that will look through all the essentially submissions we do receive, and look at how we can essentially optimise essentially the bundle of submissions we've received. The report will then come back to you to then enter into any of those arrangements. So this is really just that first step. Yeah, so from a procurement perspective, absolutely, our teams are reaching out and looking at all those other, certainly social options and certainly anything that's actually out there in the market, and works with both LGAQ and even the state government panels in that space.
So we need some sort of changes to some of the procurement policies, or to make sure that is taken into consideration? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, because I mean, you're only as powerful as your policy lets you be anyway. So, well, that's great.
Well, our policy means we've got to essentially look for value for money, but we've also got to balance that with all those other community good and those other provisions in there. So there's already that legislative head of power that provides for that.
Yeah, because we have already some good organisations that do manage waste that then have other social impacts that we might not measure exactly how well in the best way possible to show the value of our money when we spend that money. It's not just about an address, but it's also the long-term social impact that comes with it. So I just really would like us to look at those things. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Muscat. Councillor Cameron.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. Yeah, great report, and I was reading through this, I realised that Councillor Hanson will be jumping for joy over this one, so it'll really get him excited. But just a matter of interest question on this one, the disposal of air conditioning, flexible ducting seems to be problematic, whereby it's not a matter of putting this stuff on the back of a ute, taking it to him and getting rid of it. It's got to go through some process. Could you explain that to me, please? Because I did have a question from a air conditioning company that was experiencing some difficulty of getting rid of their waste.
In terms of air conditioners, and probably on touching on Councillor Muscat's question as well, is that's one where council's received a lot of inquiry in the past from social enterprises as well. In terms of air conditioners, the process that we currently undertake is when we receive a domestic or a commercial air conditioner, we then degas. The air conditioner is required to be degassed before it can be further processed. So in terms of a solution there, in terms of an expression of interest, options available are that there could be providers out there that could do that service holistically, or that they might just be looking at receiving the air conditioner or have an option for the air conditioner after it's been degassed. So in terms of the air conditioners, it's the degassing element of the air conditioner that typically is that extra step of the process for air conditioners. And any other waste associated with the air conditioner is generally considered as general waste and goes to landfill.
Yeah, my question was more toward the ducting, the flexible ducting, that there seems to be a problem in getting that disposed of.
Okay, I'll just need to take that on notice and follow up that one, Councillor. I'm not sure of any specific challenges, but I can ask the team. Yeah.
Well, from my understanding is that you've got to make application to bring this into the transfer station.
Yeah.
And that can take some time, and not everybody's available to do that at the time.
So what we might be talking about here is our special disposal process. So for certain industrial products and waste products where we've got insulation line-in and things like that, that goes through Council's special disposal process due to our environmental licence requirements for how we handle and how we need to dispose those. So we receive those and process them on an application perspective. Currently, we're with our business improvement team with Council, we're currently reviewing that process to try and gain some efficiencies, because there are some pain points for our customers with that process. Yes.
Thank you. Any further questions, councillors? It's moved by Councillor Hanson, seconded by Councillor Brantwaite. Okay, put the motion, all in favour. That's carried. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Chris. Oh, bad timing. Okay, go on. Oh, yep, all right. Councillors, the next item on the agenda is councillor reports. Before I throw to Councillor Hanson and Councillor Trevor, I might go around the table. Councillor Goodluck.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I just wanted to give a quick shout out. We had the last Beach Arts Music Festival at Millennium Esplanade for the year this weekend. Many thousands of people attended once again, but a particular shout out to Wayne and the team from Audio and Lighting Services Queensland, who always do a great job for our music needs down there on the stage at BAM. I think we've provided, by his estimates, over 600 hours of free community entertainment over the years, and I'd hazard a guess that it's actually a lot more, a lot higher than that number. We've given support to local musicians and travelling musicians all over the region, and it's all run by volunteers. So the Boyne-Tanam Arts Business Community Association, which I am obviously the president of, but many other community groups out there. We've heard today about Rotary clubs. All the work that these guys do, the Christmas celebrations and community events that we'll see across the region over the next few weeks, they're all run by volunteers. So if you are out there looking for something to do, please reach out to some of those groups because they're always looking for more help to make our communities more livable. And I just wanted to mention too, I did attend on your behalf, Mr Mayor, the Ulysses Toy Run on Saturday, I think it was. Great event. The Salvation Army there, the Ulysses Motorcycle Club and many people who attended, giving toys and funding going towards kids that might not be so fortunate this Christmas. I think every year on average the Salvation Army helps about 200 families in our region, and this year talking to the team down there, they've had far higher than usual calls for help. So 200 families, that's roughly about 700 kids every year that don't get any toys. So, you know, thank you and congratulations to the Ulysses Motorcycle Club for the great event. And it just brings me to my last point, which sort of ties into that. And some people around the table may not have seen it, but certainly for anyone with young children, you'll see the elf on a shelf, all right? Elf on a shelf, and I don't like that elf. He's a nasty little elf. But you might have seen it all over Facebook. It goes viral, and I'm sure there'll be many families across the region that will be, you know, the naughty little elf comes to life at night and does all sorts of crazy things, like wraps the Christmas tree in toilet paper and puts chocolate everywhere and does all these crazy things. And I'd ask just everyone to consider, I was talking to someone the other day who mentioned that, you know, it's all good to have a little bit of fun with Elf on a Shelf, and by all means I've done it with my own children, begrudgingly. But there are people out there who can't afford to put to waste toilet paper or to waste chocolate or to do things like that. And it was a really solid reminder of that on Saturday, you know, talking to the Salvation Army. So I would ask people to consider, instead of Elf on a Shelf tricks, you could always ask your elf to be a good elf and perhaps put a box under the tree and maybe ask your kids to put some toys in the box and donate it to the Salvation Army or many other groups across the region that might be able to help someone in need this Christmas. And that might be, or maybe you can mix it up, do a bit of naughty elf and a bit of good elf, whatever it might be. But if there is a way that people can consider helping others in need this Christmas, that'd be fantastic to see. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor, I was wondering where you were going with that. I'm glad it ended up there. I really am. That's the greatest thing I've heard today out of you. Thank you very much. I think that, yeah, it is. Oh, well, I don't know much about elves on shelves, but I've seen some of the things they've done, and I think if you can convince families to do something good where they can donate some of those gifts to kids in our community, that, like we've said with the Ulysses Toy Run, it also at the Santos GLNG Mayor's Carols, the funds raised there with the sale of glow sticks goes to the Salvos as well. And as I mentioned earlier, there's the Mayor's Giving Tree at the Kinkora Mall, Gladstone Centre Plaza now. I still call it Kinkora Mall, but anyway, and then also Kmart Wishing Tree. So an opportunity for our community to really support those families, and that's a great idea. Well done. Any other council reports? As I said before, I throw to Councillor Hanson, then Councillor Trevor. Councillor Cameron.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Look, I'd like to read a media statement relative to the winding up of QUIC, Education Queensland and Industry Partnership. This is the official media release that went out from President James Robinson. I'll just read that verbatim. After 14 years of providing local students with authentic workplace experiences, Equip Gladstone Incorporated is closing its doors. In 2022, the Queensland Department of Education cancelled its agreement with Equip following a review. This year, Equip board members and staff worked hard to create new ways to continue to support work experience and vocational education opportunities for the Gladstone High School students. However, whilst the organisation had a key role in coordinating the annual Careers Expo and providing work experience support for some independent schools, these services are insufficient to sustain operations. The Management Committee of Equip Gladstone Inc. has therefore made the difficult decision to cease operations as of the 7th of January 2024. In line with Equip's constitution, Equip will be donating its remaining cash and physical assets to communities of Gladstone supporting youth, lovingly known as COGSI, and I reckon that's a great name. It's another local non-for-profit organisation with similar objectives. Equip President James Robinson said, in the absence of Equip, COGSI is the best fit to continue on with the mission of creating opportunities for young people to develop employability, I couldn't get that word out, skills, knowledge and experience. COGSI provides young people aged 17 to 25 with industry-focused skill sets. COGSI will also be coordinating the 2024 Gladstone Careers Expo in conjunction with the Rotary Club of South Gladstone. Equip Gladstone was incorporated in 2015 after operating as a committee since 2009. It has facilitated over 6,500 local work experience placements and delivered a selection of authentic workplace learning programs for more than 1,800 high school students. Over 80% of students graduating from Equip's programs secured local apprenticeships, traineeships and employment. Equip Gladstone Inc. won the prestigious Queensland's Premier Industrial Collaboration Award at the Queensland Training Awards in both 2017 and 2019 and were finalists in the Australian Training Awards. The Gladstone community, including industry, business, schools and individuals, has a long history of caring and providing opportunities for young people. The Equip Board is grateful to all those that have supported the organisation over the years. We would like to acknowledge the long-term support of our sponsors, ConocoPhillips, AP, LNG, Shell's QGC Business, Santos GLNG, Gladstone Regional Council, Gladstone Industry Leadership Group, Honeywell, Wiggins Island Coal Terminal, our programs and partners, Boyne Smelters, Queensland Alumina Limited, Bacosca Contracting, the Seeker University, as well as many committed work experience host organisations, including Platinum Host, Gladstone Ports Corporation, Mr Robinson said. Would also want to express my gratitude to Gatane Shifliu, Equip's Operation Manager, her dedicated efforts throughout the past year. Additionally, I extend my thanks to former team members, including Nicole Allison, Melanie Kent-Ford, Jessica Desrin, and the unwavering commitment and contributions achieving Equip's objectives. I'd finally like to thank the current Equip board members, Chris Cameron, myself, Vice President, Rob Gibbs, Secretary, Charmaine Bennett, Treasurer, and Chantal Lane, David Moss, Nicole Allison, and Nicole Henry for the commitments. We look forward to seeing more positive outcomes arise for young people in Gladstone as we hand the baton over to COGSI. I'd just like to say there's a fair bit of irony here in that South Gladstone Rotary, some over 25 years ago, actually established the first Work Experience Expo in Gladstone. You would be aware of that, Mr Mayor. Did that for many, many years, and the powers that be thought that they could do it better, so they had to go. And the two-day, very successful expo turned into a half-a-day effort with the contributors basically saying, well, this is not good enough and we're not coming back anymore. And then this was picked up by Equip and then started the expo again. So after, nearly 30 years, it's coming back to South Gladstone Rotary to start running the expo in conjunction with COGSI. So, and I can assure you it's in very, very good hands. David Nunn, which we all know is a great corporate citizen, is the driving force behind this. And David is also a member and a past president of South Gladstone Rotary. We also have Bruce Hunt is on the board of COGSI. Everybody knows Bruce's dedication to our city and region. So it's all looking very, very positive going into the future. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Hammer. Well, it's looking positive from that point of view that Rotary and COGSI are involved. But this is the second unique program to Gladstone that the Education Queensland have walked away from. Access Tutorial Centre, which they pulled the pin on a couple of years ago now, would clearly have been one of the best literacy programs in the country. We saw firsthand the improvement of the young Gladstone region students through that. And as you said, over 80% of students that went through EQIP got apprenticeships and traineeships in the industry here that supported them. It will only take, if it hasn't already hit Education Queensland in the face, a year or two to realise that they've walked away from another great program that we do uniquely in Gladstone. What disappointment is the word I'm looking for, or word I'll use in the chambers, on their behalf to walk away from this program again. Unbelievable. Won awards. We had mayors across the nation saying, that's a great program, how do we replicate that? Well, how Education Queensland replicates it is by walking away from it. What a shame.
You've got figures, haven't you, too, of what has gone on after, how many students that went through, and then what's happening now? Councillor?
Those figures are there, Councillor. I don't have them with me at the moment. All I did today was to read out the official press release.
Something much less, though.
Sorry?
Something much less than what was happening when EQIP was
look,
viable.
I think when we had a report from Education Queensland, our normal yearly placements was about 800 placements, and Education Queensland reported 81. So
that's in the first year?
In the first year.
Next year it'll be 50, 40, 30, then they'll wonder why they ever pulled out of the program, and they'll say, this doesn't work.
Oh, I think they have realised that, Mr Mayor, but it's not so much the schools. Let me say our schools, our teachers, our principals are first class. I can't speak for them personally, but I know they're terribly disappointed that EQIP wasn't behind this into the future, but it is what it is, I'm afraid.
It was EQIP, Education Queensland Industry Partnership, and we weren't even in the total as a council, but we significantly funded it from day one. And I remember that some of the media afterwards saying, this isn't council core business, you shouldn't be involved in it, and the people who wrote that are probably listening online. And I was absolutely happy to move the motion at the time, sitting probably where Councillor O'Grady is now, for a program that benefited our next generation coming through who should be learning the industry that we're so proud of to have here. Anyway, it is what it is. Any further councillor reports? Okay, I might throw to Councillor Hanson.
I have a councillor report, Mr Mayor, and I think you remember last meeting I talked to you and gave you a brief report on the Lawmac waste meeting that I attended in Rockhampton, and I did say that you were going to get some notes on that. I would remind councillors that the articles and documents are now available on the portal for your perusal. Thank you to Carly and staff for doing that, so that's great. So you can have a look at all of the stuff that went on at that event. Now, on a light note, I hadn't noticed today that it was an election was close. I hadn't noticed that. But after listening to conversations around the table, it seemed that it was a little bit more imminent than what I thought. It's only it's a little bit more than 3 months away, I think. 102 days. Just getting a bit more serious about that, I'm announcing today that I will not be seeking re-election at the March 24 council elections. I've had the honour of serving the community in council for 18 years in a region I truly value and appreciate. It's the 5th term, 4.5 actually. I started in Gladstone City, half a term. I got in on a by-election. I thank the community for supporting me during this time, enabling me to gain a wide range of experience of which I've learnt and grown from. I've met and worked with many community volunteers and champions. I applaud the work that you and what your people do to achieve in making that region always a better place to live in. Thanks to the wonderful staff I've worked with during the period and friendships made along the way. I can't say that I won't miss this place, and I will for a time, but I wish the councillors who are seeking re-election and those new candidates the very best of luck in guiding this council and community moving forward. I'll no doubt make further comments on my time in council prior to the election. You'll probably hear a few of them as you go through. It's brief today, but I will make some more comments later on. But finally, thanks for the wonderful experience I've had in council. It's been a total privilege. Thank you.
Thank you, my dear friend Rick. I won't be making any further comments in relation to my impending demise beyond today, but I've made some brief notes. It's incredibly hard to sum up a public life of 20 years in a few short words, but I'll give it a go. As you know, Mayor Matt, a great friend of mine, in 2004, my public life began with the two-word slogan, "It's time." Next year, in 2024, it'll end as it began, with the same two words, "It's time." Indeed, for the first time in a long time, 20 years to be exact, my name will not appear on any ballot paper. In that time, I faced 7 elections, won some and lost some. In reflecting yesterday on where did all those years go, I wanted to thank publicly my wife Colleen and our children Joel, Guy, Reese, Price, Kiara, as well as their partners, my dear friends, and my extended family, as well as the people of the Gladstone region for their support over the past 20 years. I wanted to thank my loyal and trusted staff at my legal practice who have freed me up to have such a wonderful public life over many years. I also wanted to thank you, Mayor Matt, Lisa, Natalia, Rick, Glenn, Khan, Darryl, Desley and Chris for your friendship and support. I've had a bit of bad luck with my health these past few years, and without your personal sacrifices, I would have had to simply give up a long time ago. I'm luckier than most. The Gladstone region is also very lucky to have you all as their advocates and representatives. With Desley, Darryl, Rick and myself leaving next year, over 40 years of public experience leaves the boardroom table. However, I'm absolutely confident that those staying, which have a combined experience well in excess of that, some 60 years, will ensure that we remain and continue to thrive as the economic powerhouse of the nation, the industrial capital of Australia and the port city to the world, to coin a time-honoured phrase. Thank you to the officers and employees of the Gladstone Regional Council. I've loved every minute of my time here sharing with you the ups and downs of public service. You do an amazing job, and the people of Gladstone Region should know that if they don't already. Thank you to the general public for your support over the past 20 years. I've tried my best to repay your trust in me as best I could. I wanted to say to you all that my family and I are truly blessed. We have 5 beautiful grandchildren and more on the way. We have so much to look forward to in the future, and I hope you all do too. But along with happiness will also come the inevitable sadness, which will test our resolve like it does all families. Colleen and I, out of the spotlight, are very private people. However, I never have but wanted today to publicly thank the paramedics, Gladstone Hospital, doctors and nurses, the Royal Flying Doctor Service and Wesley Hospital doctors and nurses for helping to save my life after a heart attack last year. A big thank you on behalf of everybody who relies on your services. The irony was not lost on me at the time, having become the first ever federal member for the new seat of Flynn in 2007. a new federal seat named after the Reverend John Flynn, who founded the world's first aerial medical service, the Royal Flying Doctor Service. I wanted to publicly thank former Prime Minister Kevin Rudd for giving me the chance to represent Flynn and for checking in on me since my heart attack. That's the type of good bloke I have always known him to be. In public life, I have never been short of a headline, but always done with good intentions and self-belief that it was the right thing to do. I drink rum and cola, cola spelt C-O-A-L-A, is now CT folklore. I guess, as the famous saying goes, I did it my way. Team, during my stay here, I have laughed a lot. Never taken myself too seriously, except when it comes to defending our region. Most certainly enjoyed all of your company. Given the best that I could, won some, lost some, got emotional at times, got on my high horse at other times. But I know in my own heart that I am leaving the region in a better shape than which I found it. May the force be with you all. Enjoy the rest of your public journey. And remember to be kind to each other. It's been a pleasure and an honour to serve with you and alongside you all. Best wishes always. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Trevor, and thank you, Councillor Henson. There's no further council reports, there's no urgent business, there's no notice of motion, no confidential items. I'll declare the meeting closed at 11:25.